I suppose the next issue is, how does structure work to accomplish all this? Well, it works because of predictability. I think we've stated before that many people with autism don't pick up on the social cues or the expressive language used in most classrooms. They may not understand what's expected of them when they arrive at a new location. The use of additional prompts, such as visuals, routine, physical boundary markers, those sorts of things, will help them understand what happens at each center and may make up for their lack of understanding of language and social cues. The AutismHelper.com gives, her name is Sasha Long, and she has some wonderful stuff. I'll be referring to her often. She gives this extreme example, and I love it. Let's say you're abducted by aliens. You're probably freaked out, right? They kept talking to you, but you don't speak alienese. But every time they take you to the blue room, they give you cookies. And every time they take you to the green room, you play checkers. Now, even though you don't know what they're saying, after a few days of this routine, you know what will happen when you walk into the blue room. I love that. This is capitalizing on routine and the color coding to assist in understanding when language doesn't make sense. And it often doesn't make sense to the kids that we're working with. When incoming sensory stimuli is reduced, as it is when the amount of oral language is reduced, it's easier to maintain attention to the task at hand. Lynn Saraya, an adult with autism, has noted, "When I know what is expected of me, it makes me more confident that I will be able to behave appropriately." Many of us have been faced with a new situation, and we wonder what we should wear or how we'll be expected to behave. For example, when we walk into a new restaurant, we observe the physical environment as well as the behavior of other people to help us figure out how we're supposed to order. Do we wait to be seated? Do we find our own table? Will the waiter come to us, or must we go to the bar or to the counter? Will the waiter take our money, or do we carry our check to a cashier? We, as neurotypicals, can figure that out because we're able to observe our surroundings and generalize from our previous experience. However, people on the autism spectrum may be unable to make such generalizations, and not having been to this particular restaurant before may be confused, and if they're confused, they can become anxious. Lynn Saraya also says, "It's nothing new to say that autism and anxiety often go together. It's been stated that up to 84% of people on the spectrum are affected by it." One major driver of anxiety can be not knowing what to expect from a situation. She writes about a program that she attended in her primary school years. It was highly structured, and she maintains that knowing what is coming next, predictability, allowed her to have imaginary rehearsals of what might be the best way to react to an upcoming situation. To others, she says, it may look like worrying and rumination, but to her, it is a critical survival skills. Children with autism are almost always highly stressed by their lack of understanding of the social milieu in which they have to function. The child may be so overwhelmed with attempting to deal with social events and expectations that he or she may entirely miss language-based input. Stress can even be brought on by the experience of being physically close to other people. The individual with autism may not even process what the waiter says, "You can pay me when you're ready," because he or she is so distracted by the noisy environment. A student with autism is even less likely to process auditory verbal information when he or she is upset or worried or angry. There's a greater likelihood that he or she will be able to process visual information. Here's a couple of things to think about. Gestures, vocal intonations, facial expressions, conversational pauses, and emphasis may be lost on these children. They get the words, but not the music of speech. There's also a tendency among children on the spectrum to take words literally. What they hear may not be mediated by an intrinsic understanding of a social situation, nor by understanding the personality or intent of the speaker. In attempting to understand something that's just been said, even the very bright child may miss other parts of the communication. Structure increases the likelihood of success in a couple of ways. Many children with autism have a poor sense of time, and they have difficulty understanding the vocabulary of time and order. Things like before, after, then, yesterday, first, second, later. Those are very abstract kind of terms, really. And they are used daily in our lives. And as we use them in our lives, and as there is a schedule, those time and time concepts and vocabulary begin to be understood if they are used routinely and systematically. So if time is more understandable, the world is more predictable, and anxiety is generally reduced. With that, there's a much greater likelihood of success in the classroom, at home, and in life.